Hey guys, my name is Jose from Patrick and Friends Music Company. This is video lesson number 3, if I'm not mistaken. And in the first 2 lessons, we talked about things such as fingering position, hand positioning, positions on the bass, and we kind of really focused on the half position and first position, which kind of just goes up to from F to G. We talked about, how our right hand is supposed to look, how our left hand is supposed to look, getting a proper sound, and a little bit of what the bass kind of really does in the bandstand and musically, and what we really give as bassists. So in this lesson, I kind of want to touch a little bit more on that, and I want to go over and really start looking at scales on bass. And since the first position that we talked about was half position, figured we would go ahead and start there. A major scale, if you go in, haven't checked some of these other videos out, I recommend you go check some of our other friends who are really touching bass a little bit deeper into scales and a little bit more of the theory stuff. A major scale is constructed of a whole step, another whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and then a half step. So, starting on half position, we'll start with F. F, then you're gonna jump a whole step, which is from your index finger to your pinky finger. That's a whole step. So that's G. And then the next part of that is gonna be an A string, or the note A. But since we're talking about half position, we're gonna go ahead and play this as an open A string. Saves us work, and it's right there, and it's going to always be in tune, hopefully. And then after that, you're going to have B flat, which is your index finger on that half position on the A string, and then you're going to go a whole step, so index finger to pinky, and you're going to have C. Then you're going to jump another whole step, which from C to D, we have the D string, the open D string. So there's the open D string, and you're gonna do another whole step to E string. Now this is where we use our second finger. Just like that. An easy way to practice that, if you're not familiar with it yet, when you hit that open D, take advantage of that exercise with the half steps regarding your fingers. So you can go E flat, E, and then if it's a little out of tune, it's fine. You can go ahead and work on that. And it's like, okay, there's my E. And once you get that, you jump up a half step, middle finger to pinky finger, and there's your F. So when you do that fast, or in tempo, you should get that sound. And that is your F major scale. That scale, really all scales is the basic construction and understanding kind of, or beginning steps of harmony. Really, no matter what instrument you're playing, scales is one of the most important things to learn, and it's imperative that we learn them as musicians because it, again, is the basis of harmony. It's kind of tells you where the notes are on your instrument. Let's touch on that F major scale again. You got F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. All right. So again, if you need to take it even slower, break it down even more, you can do the whole chromatic step thing. So you're going to start with the F, and you can go, okay, so a whole step. So you're going to have F sharp to G. So there's your G. And then, the other whole step is going to be an open A. All right. And you got half. And then if you're like, okay, well, where's that C going to be at? Take it, with the half steps that we worked on. So you're going to have B flat, B, C. Okay, there it is. Boom, C. Then open D. And same thing. If you don't know where that E is at, you got E flat, E. And then that half step is going to be with the pinky, and that's your F. All right, so that is your F major scale, and that revolves around your half position that we were talking about. And if you go over to the G string, you kind of just, it's the same exact scale. It just works itself up. It's the same exact notes, but in an octave higher. So you got. And then to end just in this half position, we'll just stop on the B flat for now. But if you want to go above and beyond, you can go up to the C, to the D, the E, and the F, and complete your 2-octave major scale. F major 2-octave scale. And notice how what really guides me through that, again, is knowing where these positions are on the bass and how my fingers are going to play into those scales and those lines, those notes. Everything on the upright bass regarding notes a lot of the time is really fingering and positions, because it really will simplify your life to know where these notes are at. I know that this F is going to be here. I know it's going to be here. I know it's going to be here. And the more you dive into it, now you have one on the A string too. So you know where you understand where these notes are at based on positions, based on how they feel. And the more you do it, the more you practice scales, the more you spend time with those chromatic steps. The more you understand the bass, and the easier it will be for you to walk a line, for you to sight read music and stuff like that, because you understand where these notes are at. You understand intervals. You understand all that kind of stuff that we'll touch on further in some lessons in the future. That is really kind of like the beginning gist of an upright, and getting and understanding a little bit more of where things are kind of located. So that was F major. That was a half position. The second scale that I'd like to talk is the G scale. The G major scale will actually take up all 4 strings, and it'll change a little bit of our fingerings a little bit, just because on the F major scale, you get to use 2 open strings. On the G major scale, you get to use 3 with the G included. If you remember, or if you recall, the last step in the F major scale was a half step from the middle finger to the pinky, going E to F. On an F major scale, your last step is going to be F sharp to G, which is going to be pinky to open string. All right, so let's work on that. You have G, and you're going to start with your second finger, not your first finger. On the F, we started with our first finger, but on the G, we're starting with our second finger on that G, on the E string. All right, so this is where we're leaving our half position. By now, you should understand where that's at, and you can keep working on that, and it's imperative that you keep working on that. But now we're really solely relying on the first position, which is going to be, your index finger is going to be on an F sharp instead of an F. So everything kind of shifts down a half step, all right? So you have G, you'll play that with your middle finger. And the reason that we play with our middle finger is because you'll see as we go down the scale, it makes the most sense, and it's the easiest way to just play the scale with it sounding good and without you having to really shift all over the bass too much. All right, so you got G, open string A, then you have a B, then you have C, open D, E, F sharp, and then G. All right, and notice how we never left this position here. Just like when we were playing F major, we always stayed in this half position. So now what we did is moved everything down a whole step, starting with our second finger though, leading with our second finger. That way we don't have to leave this position. Everything is going to be right here. Everything's at reach. Otherwise, For example, if I was to start with my pinky on the G string, it would look something like this. And then I had to shift into that E. So you're kind of avoiding that. Or if I'll start with my index finger on the G, so I still have to kind of shift a little bit. And then if I was to do something weird like, so what you really will kind of want to avoid on bass, a whole bunch of movement. It'll make your life easier, whether you're reading or if you're walking bass lines and stuff like that, or you're just kind of grooving on something. It'll make your life easier the less you have to shift, the less you have to move. Again, just kind of keeping everything in one position. That's your G major scale. Again, if you keep walking it, double octave. And again, this second part of the second middle part of the fingerboard, we'll talk about that in depth in future lessons, just because there's a lot happening here. There's a lot of notes you can reach that are accessible, but you want to know how to use those notes, because sometimes they won't always ring the same as some of these upper positions, just because of the nature of the bass. Again, we talked about F major, then you have G major. All right, and really when you're playing these scales, one last thing is try to keep your hand position in the same position for every note. Meaning this, you don't want to remove your hand completely. If you're playing G major, you don't want to do something like, or, you notice I'm lifting all my fingers completely off. You want to stay as close as possible to the string. See, so here, I mean, my pinky, my ring finger, my index finger is actually still touching the string. My pinky is slightly above, just to give that note space for it to sing. And then when I go to the B, it's the same concept. My three fingers right here are slightly above the string, and they're in position. Notice how I'm not doing something like where I'm completely closing off the hand, or now this is my B, and because especially when you're first getting this under your fingers, it'll throw you off in terms of your intonation. If you keep your hands closed for every single thing, when you go to hit that F sharp, now you're not in position to kind of really, now it's kind of iffy. Where is it gonna land? Where's my pinky gonna land? So when you're first getting this under your fingers, under your belt, keep it as close as possible to position. Keep the nice, open, relaxed hand. And same thing on F major. All right, so I'll leave you guys with that, and put a metronome on, take it slow. Don't try to speed through it. Practice is not a competition, and your pace is not a competition. You're not in competition with anybody else but yourself. So take time to slowly practice it till it sounds good, and you'll find the best success like that. Take it at your own pace and just take your time with it. So once again, my name is Jose. Hit that subscribe button, give us a like, check our link out on Patreon, and yeah, you guys be easy, be cool.